Welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. This is episode number 10. I'm Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer at Center for Victory, where we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm here with Zack DelTurco.
Good to be back.
All right, Executive Consultant here at Center for Victory. And we're picking up where we left off on last episode, which was the number 9 principle for really supercharging your life and your future. We talked a lot about forgiveness and not judging. We're coming right back at it today with number 10. Number 10 is a little bit funnier, so we'll have to explain it a little bit so people understand it. But number 10 principle that I've put in the title of Be a Honey Badger. Now, if you're familiar with a honey badger, it's an animal. It's not very big, but one of the things that we'll talk about is some of the characteristics of a honey badger that really, if you take these on, will really help you, be a little bit more successful in life and be more successful in your future. But the first one, when we talk about being a honey badger, is never compromise. So if you've not seen what a honey badger is, just look it up on YouTube. Sometimes there's a little bit of vulgarity in some of the videos, so you have to be careful not to watch it maybe in front of your kids or if that offends you. But if you do understand it, you understand what we mean. You'll see that a honey badger, one of the pictures that we use in some of our speaking engagements, is a honey badger coming back after battling a porcupine. Mm-hmm. And it has all these porcupine needles sticking out of it, and it's just kind of coming back like it owns the place, right?
Because it does own the place.
It does own the place. I've seen honey badgers in videos really go after lions. It just doesn't back down. And before I go any further, let's talk about those characteristics, Zach. So the first one that we have there about being a honey badger is never compromising. So the thing that I think about there of never compromising is you have to stand for something. If you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. So speak to that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, I think when we talk about never compromise, you have to have a platform that you kind of jump off of.
Okay.
So for us internally, I think when we say never compromise, we're talking about 5 different things. Our values.
Core values, yep.
Our core values here at Center for Victory is number 1, don't whine, shine.
Yep.
Number 2, be like Fred.
Yep.
Number 3, more cowbell.
Yep.
Number 4, be an eagle. Mm-hmm. And number 5, make it rain.
Yep.
So those are our values. So when it comes to talking about compromising, we will never compromise from those 5 things. Mm-hmm. So we have a foundation in which we're saying, hey, this is where we're going to hold our integrity. This is where we're going to say, we're not going to back down. We're going to stand for this because that's truly what makes us unique as a company.
Yeah. And when you say that, know where you stand and what you stand for, it's easy to get knocked off of that. So start with, you have a lot of experience, right, with younger adults, mm-hmm. right? There's a lot going out there, a lot of peer pressure. How easy is it to get knocked off of that?
Yeah.
Right, if you don't know what's going on, right?
Yeah. I always tell emerging leaders and young adults and teenagers when I meet with them is I always say this, and this is something that holds true in my life. I would rather stand up for something and be made fun of than stand up for nothing and kind of blend in. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather stand out than blend in. Mm-hmm. So when you have values, you're standing out because not a lot of people have values in their life. And I think there's a couple different values that we can look at here. You can look at your company, but also you can look at yourself and your family. Mm-hmm. So whoever's listening to this, it's important that you create values that you stand up for, because I would rather be remembered for standing out than be forgotten for blending in.
Yeah.
And what are your values? What makes you tick? What gets you up in the morning? Mm-hmm. For me, one of my values is integrity.
Yeah.
I want to be in any situation where someone could say, you know what, Zach's never said one bad thing about anybody. I want to almost be blameless in a sense. So that's a value that I have. What are some values that you have internally with your family and with yourself?
Well, you mentioned them before. The ones that we have internally at the company really come out of my life. I mean, that's, I don't want to go into them today. I mean, I did one of the webinars we did a few episodes ago with my son is be like Fred, but that means just be relatable, be nice, be personable, but most of all, be loyal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the things that, if you want to be close and you're not loyal, then I just really don't want to be part of that.
Yeah.
Because I want to do the same thing. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I want to be just as loyal. So everybody that I'm around, if they're close to me, they know I got their back. And that's what that one's all about. But there's core values in our company are really just the core values we have internally. A lot of them come out of what we've done in our home. When I think about that, the never compromise piece of being a honey badger, you just talked about young adults. Now, when that relates to the work environment, I think that's why a lot of people leave, is because they're not sure what that is. Yeah. What are those values, or if they're not sure what theirs are, then they leave. If it doesn't jive with what theirs are, then they leave, which is okay. Yeah. I think you should. But some people know their values but still stay in a company because they do compromise.
Yeah. And I think if you have values as an individual and your company has values, and those values don't align, do yourself and the company's self the biggest favor and move on. Yeah. Because number one, you'll start to get better. Yep. Listen to the previous podcast. Number two is you'll start to spread that toxicity. Is that how you say it?
Toxicity.
Beaver
toxicity.
You'll start to spread that in your coworkers as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So do yourself the biggest favor and just decide to move on from that company.
Okay. Well, let's jump into the second piece we have there about being a honey badger, which is, if you watch a honey badger, usually they're pretty laser focused, right? They go after it, whatever they're going, right? I've seen, videos of some of them just attack, a poisonous snake, and they're just so laser focused that they just go after it. It's like, logically that doesn't work. But they just get so singularly laser focused, and how that applies to our life in terms of success. What happens when we get laser focused?
Yeah, I think you can accomplish a lot. So there's this analogy. I want you to think of a spotlight versus a laser. Yeah. A spotlight can bring light to a whole room. A laser can cut through something. Spotlight can't do that. So when you're laser focused, you can cut through anything. And I just think about never compromise and be laser focused. They tie in. So when you know your values,
you get laser focused.
You get laser focused around those things. And I know for me, there's 2 to 3 things that I've been laser focused on, and I give all my energy. Because if you're not laser focused, look at it this way. You only have so much energy you can give. And it's like your energy is like gasoline. So if you have 7 to 8 things that you're trying to pour that gasoline or energy on, you're never going to have that big explosion if you pour all that gasoline on one thing and watch that thing blow up. That's kind of the analogy I like to use is, are you laser focused? Are you giving your energy to 1 or 2 things to watch those things just blow up right in front of you?
Yeah, good. And then let's go to the third one. The third one, characteristic about really a honey badger is if you watch it, it's very unstoppable. I mean, it's definitely doesn't compromise, laser focused, and unstoppable. What that means to me, when I think of that, I think of the term that we use a lot of time, especially in the work environment, is grit. And that's something that I don't think there's some measurements of grit out there, but it's not something that really can be, I don't think at least yet, objectively measured. I mean, there's people that might debate that. But here's what I know. People with grit do more and succeed more. And it's not something you're born with. It's really something you have to develop. And when you look at that grit, you look at the being unstoppable, laser focused, never compromising, honey badger. If if it doesn't have that grit, it takes on animals, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times its size, but it has a lot of grit. It doesn't back down, right? And it succeeds more often than not, right? And that's what I see with a lot of people.
So question for you. Say somebody doesn't have that right now, and that's something you can learn, that's something you can acquire over time. Just give us one way for us to have that unstoppable spirit in what we do. What's just one, I'm sure there's many, what's one thing that comes up to your mind when it comes to having that grit or
Get
unstoppable?
around somebody else that's gritty. I mean, that's the best way to learn it is through, just hands-on learning about it. And get somebody that's gritty, that just won't stop, that's so focused, that really just has that unstoppable attitude. And those other two characteristics, if they're laser focused, more than likely they have some grit, but they just that unstoppable nature. And it's a person that's not problem oriented, solution oriented. That's
good, yeah.
And so they offer solutions, not problems, and they always do more than is expected. So that could be in the form of a mentor, a leader in your company. Heck, if you're listening to it, it's a kid. It could be a parent, a grandparent, aunt, uncle, a bigger brother, bigger sister, aunt, whoever. But that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, and I heard you talk in a seminar / breakout before. You talked about kind of this idea of being unstoppable, having that spirit about yourself and that grit. And I forget who you quoted. Was it Miles Monroe or Les Miles? When you get knocked down, just make sure you
land on your back.
How does that go again?
Because if you land on your back, at least you could see the stars, right? And that actually goes into another episode that we'll do about getting back up. But yeah, I mean, just you're going to get knocked down, but if you fall on your back, at least you can look up because you can see the stars. If you look up, you can see the stars. Absolutely.
And it's not if, it's when.
It's when,
right?
Yeah.
A storm will come to everybody.
Just like it does with the honey badger. Honey badger, you need to. It's not. Out in the animal kingdom, it's not all niceties, right? It has to be gritty. It has to go out there, and it definitely on the move, right? It comes up with the solutions itself, which leads us to the fourth and last principle there that we want to talk about in this particular principle, which is just fearlessness. I mean, it does come into grit, right? It ties into that. When you look at somebody that, I mean, you can have fear, but you have to go into something, almost with the knowing. Like when you look at it, the reason why we use that honey badger picture and be a honey badger is because it doesn't seem like it's afraid of anything. You take on a huge lion, right? This thing is, not very big, or, a poisonous snake, whatever it is, it just goes after it with this, this determination where it's like, okay, I'm not backing out of this thing. I'm not retreating. I'm all in. No fear. Might have some, right? But it's just going in like it doesn't. You have to present yourself like it is, really to be successful in life. You can have the fear, but go into something, acknowledging it and moving forward and not letting it get you all caught up and into retreat.
It's like a chihuahua fighting a lion.
Right.
Think about that, like a little chihuahua going up against a lion. It doesn't, when you look at it, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But that little chihuahua, that honey badger doesn't see himself as that small little animal. It sees itself as big as a lion. I think it's that mentality as well. I think you got to build a mentality where you look face to face to your competitor. You look face to face to somebody that's coming at you and say, I'm not afraid of you because I see myself bigger than you.
Right.
It's almost that mentality, and I liked this idea of being fearless. This honey badger, it goes forward despite the risk. It sprints ahead no matter what.
Yep.
And I think if you want to go to the next level in your leadership and your business, it's not you have to be fearless. You have to choose to overcome fear. Because what is fear? It's false evidence appearing real. 90% of the time, and I'm making that stat up, but 90% of the time, that fear It's not even real.
Right.
And when you choose to move forward, you're like, I can't believe I was
afraid of that. Yep. Yeah, works that way. Well, good. Just to recap, we have 4 things. The principles: be a honey badger. So 4 principles here underneath this segment are just never compromise, be laser focused, be unstoppable, have that grit, and in all things, be fearless. Right? Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this up, Zach?
No, I think it all comes down to application. Start with one of them.
Yeah.
How can I get more grit, or how can I move beyond that fear and almost become fearless? So just choose one of those today and apply it to your life.
Yeah.
Because we have so much information out there, but information without application, it's just information. So apply that to your life and watch that revelation come alive every single day when you choose to apply what you learn.
Very good. If you want more information, you can connect with us at centerforvictory.com. That's centerforvictory.com. Or you can call our office at area code 724-462-8383. And one last thing to remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. And we'll be talking to you again soon. Take care.